All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm one of your hosts who's in command today, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board, and I am joined by St. Louis Kiss, Lonnie, Bag Boy, Alex, and
Hello.
Marcus Almighty, Mark. Gentlemen, we put the band back together again. Always good to see you on a Thursday. It's just like going down to the pub and buying a Diet Coke and hanging out with some Kiss buddies and just talking about Kiss. Let's do some of the obvious news straight at the top. Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley last night. Who's been on YouTube watching that stuff today? He did 3 songs with Gene, Shock Me Cold Gin, and was it Parasite as well?
Yeah.
Just from my perspective, fantastic to see Ace with Gene unmasked. Very, very cool. What were your guys' thoughts on that? Alex, you look all keen and giddy. And
I thought it was cool. I really liked the way they did Parasite with Gene doing the first verse and Ace doing the second. I thought that was really cool. Gene shocked me, it was really cool to see them do Shock Me. I think obviously Gene's put together a well tight band with the Gene Simmons band, so I think they did a great job.
All right, we're gonna try and add in
Hello
69
again, everybody.
Blizzard. Hello, everyone.
Hello again, everybody.
The voice of reason's able to join us, so we're gonna try and do 5 people on this podcast today.
I was just saying that I think Gene Simmons has got a well put band together, and I think they did a great job. I think Ace played good. Videos, we weren't there in person, but I think it was great, and I'd like to hopefully see some more guest appearances, that kind of a thing.
Awesome. Mark, what was your take on it? Oh shit, is it going to be one of those shows?
I'm still here. I mean,
Holy shit, that's like, hold on a second.
what's going on?
Uh-oh.
Julian's gone.
Julian left the building.
I guess this is when Julian quit the podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Mark, what did you think of the show?
Well, I thought it was really good. I thought just Ace seemed a little shaky in little spots, but overall I thought it was a really good show. I thought it was well done, and I think it was kind of worth the hype, and I think that they did well, all things considered.
Better quality than I think this show might end up being, with the internet lagging as it is, and no one's doing anything here, so I've got my full bandwidth. I just checked that. Lonnie, thoughts?
Julian was up checking Netflix to make sure it wasn't streaming.
No, usually in the back room there at South Park.
I was monitoring it very closely last night as everything was going down. It's exciting. One of the more exciting events that's really happened in the Kiss world in the last several years. I mean, Ace Frehley and Gene Simmons playing together on stage for the first time in 16 years. I mean, that's historic. It really is. I'm not saying it's leading anything, that it's a precursor for anything, but it's really freaking cool to have those two on stage together, performing, apparently getting along enough to perform. I mean, we hope at least getting along enough. I think it's great. I think it's great for Gene. It's great exposure for Gene and his solo band and what Gene's doing with his box set. I think it's great for Ace. I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see. I'm not saying let's get Ace back in the band. This isn't gonna be a show about that. But I'd like to see more of Gene and Ace performing, more of Paul and Ace performing like they did on Ace's cover album. Ace's Twitter did stir the pot a little bit last night. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
Yeah.
But Ace's Twitter let out a tweet saying sign everywhere a sign as things were going on. You know, I think just to stir it up a little bit. But it's fun and it's great. It's great for Kiss. It's great for Gene. It's great for Ace. It's great for everyone involved. So I'd like to see more of it.
Yep, and that is not a Tesla song. Ken probably knows who the original act is, but I only know the Tesla version. I can't remember who they covered on that.
Five man
Acoustical Jam.
Electrical band.
Acoustical Jam.
That's the name of. But that's the name of the group, though. The 5-man electrical band.
Was it? Oh, was it? Okay.
That's another band.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off the 5-man Acoustical Jam Tesla album. There you go. So, whatever. Yep. All right. So, Ken, I can't remember now where the hell I was in this. So, had you given your input on the Gene Simmons stuff? You had. Okay. Good.
Yeah. It was.
All right.
Oh, okay.
It was okay.
No, I haven't, but.
Well, do.
No, well, the Ace thing with Gene. I mean, the more people or former Kiss members you can get on stage at one time, the better. It's great seeing them on stage together. You know, for the first time since I guess it was 2001 or whenever it is when Tommy took over. So, it was cool. I watched the videos and it sounded great, and it's just a cool thing to see when you get those original members on stage together. I know we were, it's kind of one half of Kiss, right? It's kind of like Gene and Paul as one half of Kiss.
It's no less Kiss than it's currently.
Could have called it Kiss. Yeah.
So there should have been a Kiss. Are you saying that there should have been a Kiss logo there behind them last night, and a little bit of pyro and makeup, and they could have dressed up a couple of guys in in the band as Tom?
People could say no.
What is this? Yes.
People could say no, right?
Gene Simmons
you can't do that.
Ace Frehley's Kiss.
That's the other argument. And how can you call Gene and Paul Kiss when the other two original aren't there? So you get that argument. But, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, very, very fun. I think that's the key thing, that 2017 has turned out to be an amazing year in terms of everything that's occurring. Peter Criss solo performances, expo appearances, Ace on the road. Ace looked good as well. And to me, he looked a little bit like Mick Mars circa 1970, with his hair kind of flat. He looked good. They did a pre-show meet and greet with guys from Cheap Trick and Don Felder. So very fun. Let's move on to other stuff. Obviously, yesterday, if you were following anything, you might have seen we put an ad in the Village Voice. This is Robert Conte and myself celebrating Kiss's history with that newspaper, the ad that they placed looking for a guitarist in 1972. So final print edition of the Village Voice came out, and it's just a little homage to the band and to the Village Voice. All the ads that they ran in 1973, we did a little collage of those up in the top there. I wrote a silly little blurb. What did I say? The relationship between the Village Voice and Kiss dates back just 2 weeks before the band's debut at the Coventry. Blah, blah, blah. Find a copy of it if you really want to read my sentence. But it's just a salute to Kiss, New York City, and the Village Voice, which is going digital only. So people are already selling this free newspaper on eBay for $25 a pop. I've got a few copies coming in, but it's sick, the amount people are already charging. So if you can find a fan in New York City, work out a deal with them and do not pay anyone $25 for a copy of a free newspaper.
There's got to be some way you can monetize this, Julian.
No. I got a couple of copies. I got to give a shout out to Jonathan. He plays Paul Stanley, the Local Destroyer tribute band. He let me scan. He had original ads for a couple of these shows, and he let me scan those and more of the stuff. I actually posted a picture of me holding up one of the Diplomat ads from the paper, and it was like a holy shit moment. Actually, I'm holding this, cool. From the real paper. And he had some other really neat stuff as well. So, Jonathan, thank you so much. When I do get a copy of The Voice, he's going to get one, obviously, for helping out, make that add collage a cool thing. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about today, which is the anniversary. Make sure I hold this up the right way. Crazy Nights. And
Crazy Nights.
30th anniversary of an album that I never thought that I would be interested in celebrating its 30th anniversary of, let alone its 5th, 7th, 19th, or whatever. We're going to talk initially about our first listens to the album, how we reacted to it, and since I'm already monologuing, I'm just going to continue on with, I picked this album up at Music City in Binghamton, I think it was day of release in 1987. It was my first brand new Kiss album I ever listened to as a Kiss fan after getting into them during Asylum. And I had a little red Walkman with me. I think I took the bus down there, and I put in the cassette tape, and Crazy Night starts, and my jaw just dropped. The sound, the style of the album, the everything about it was just not what I was expecting. And it didn't get much better for me for much of the album, so I was not a fan of Crazy Nights at all, probably for a good few years. I listened to it. There's a couple of songs on it which we'll talk about that I do like, but my initial impression of the album was not good. Ken, what about you?
Well, when I first, I think I first heard Crazy Nights, the single, or saw the video. That was one of the first things I saw. I remember buying the single. I had the single, so before the album came out, and I thought, this is a pretty freaking good song. I thought, this ought to be a hit. I mean, just listening to it on my first listen, I thought, this got to be a hit for them. But it wasn't a hit, and yeah, well, that's another story. But I thought it was going to be a hit. It obviously wasn't a hit here in the States, but it did well in England, which they say they're not prejudiced to music changes of bands and things. They don't, that's whatever it is. Anyway, so I got the album finally. I wasn't too shocked about it because the music of the time was similar to that going on. The Bon Jovi thing, the Heart thing, Loverboy, Babies, all those kinds of bands, which is what, Ron Nevison produced all those bands. And so I wasn't too surprised about it. I'm not too surprised Kiss took a left turn because they've done it before in the past with, Dynasty and Unmasked and The Elder, for instance. So those were left turns, and I thought, well, they're trying to get a hit. Obviously, they're trying to, and everyone says follow the trend, and they tried. Just one other thing about it is I was just reading, Ron Nevison said he would have maybe toned back after listening to it, toned back the synthesizers and not made it so polished as he did. Well, he should have got it right the first time, in my opinion. But I liked it at first. That's all I can say now. Right now, when I first listened to it, I thought it was pretty darn good. But I was surprised about Gene Simmons. His vocals were the kind of solo album vocals, or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know whose idea that was, but I liked it at first. A good, pretty good.
Alex, how old were you in 1987?
Let's see. I wasn't around yet.
He's a fetus.
Wasn't even a fetus.
Not even that.
Well, I didn't even thought.
No, just a twinkle in my daddy's eye.
So what did you think of the album the first time you heard it, and when did you first hear it?
I've mentioned before I had that bootleg mixtape that my dad had got from the Philippines back in the day, and so I don't know what songs some of the albums that came off of, but I know it had at least 6 Crazy Nights songs. Because like Crazy Nights, Turn On the Night, My Way, Bang Bang You, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, and My Way. So I remember hearing those songs, and I liked them. I thought they were pretty cool. I did think they sounded much different. than the other stuff on it. But I do remember finally picking up the CD copy of Crazy Nights when I was in high school, senior year. So that was for the 20th anniversary of Crazy Nights. Then it was 2007, and I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot when I heard it. I wasn't crazy for some of the Gene tracks, but I think knowing it was from the 80s, getting it 20 years later, it would have put into perspective and context of what it sounded like, So I imagine my introduction is probably a little bit different than those who grew up like Mark, loving the Bob Ezrin albums and so forth.
There we go. Someone just had
you had to bring that up, didn't you?
Someone just had to remind everyone. Lonnie, how about you?
It's interesting because I figured I was 8 years old when Crazy Nights came out, and I'm not really up to date on everything that's happening. When you're that age, you just know you like Kiss when I'm that young. I know my brother has a couple tapes and I have a tape, and that's really about it. But our neighbor down the street got a copy of it, and he invited us over. And I don't think he got it like the day it came out or something, but I remember it might have been late 87, maybe early 88 or something. I don't know. He got a copy of it, and we went over to his house and listened to it, and it was fun. It was good, and we did what every other kid did in that time frame. We didn't have it, but he had it, so we brought over a blank tape, and he copied it for us. And we went home. No, we got this, and it was okay. It was okay, and I don't remember a whole lot about it at that age. But I guess I bought my own copy of it a few years later. I didn't go out and buy my own copy of it right away because I have no source of income, obviously, at that age. And if I want something, my mom and dad said, well, put it on your Christmas list or put it on your birthday list and we'll see what happens type thing. So I do remember getting it, I guess, when you start to make your own money cutting grass, whatever, when I'm 12 or 13. I finally got it, my own physical copy of it. And by that time it had waned a little bit. It was already dated a little bit by that point, by the time 91, 92 rolls around. But my early impressions of it were still good because it was competitive, like Ken said, with what was popular at the time. Poison was big, Bon Jovi was big. It was very competitive with what was popular. So in the moment, the first time I heard it as a young tyke, it was fine and it was good.
Yeah, and Mark, just before I get you, I'd like to apologize to everyone for the quality of this show up to this point. With any network lagging, I forgot to turn off my fucking Dropbox, and somehow it wants to sync up about 8 gigs of stuff right now. So, yeah, smart one, Mr. Gill. So, Mark,
yes.
What was your first encounter with Crazy Nights? And was it under duress, or did you leap willingly into the store and say, I want that album with the guy with the blue thong on the back cover?
Yes.
The funny thing is, I really didn't like this record when I first heard anything from it, because for the first while my introduction to it was actually the video to Reason to Live, and I was like, ugh. When I first saw that, I was like, what the heck is this? Because before, I was into a lot of the older stuff. That was what I was introduced to. And then I got into Asylum pretty heavily, which I really liked. And what actually made me want to go check it out was I was really, really into Ultimate Sin, right? And I thought that was a wicked record. And later on, I found out that the same guy who did Ultimate Sin had done Crazy Nights. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go and grab it and check it out. And much to my disappointment, it didn't sound anything remotely as good as the Ultimate Sin to me, right? Because I was right into the whole Jakey Lee, and I loved his guitar playing and stuff like that. But I'll have to say, though, Crazy Nights as a record has substantially grown for me over the last couple of like 5 years or so. It's a record that I identify with one place on this planet, and that's California. Every time I've been there, it just seems like Crazy Nights is a perfect soundtrack for, you know, cruising around somewhere in California, whether it's Los Angeles or whatever. I just find that album really reminds me of that place. Like Dynasty reminds me of New York City. Crazy Nights reminds me of California, specifically of that kind of area. When I was going to those NAMM conventions and I'd go get my rental car, I'd always bring Crazy Nights because it was just something that just connected with me in that area.
Yeah, one thing I want to get out of the way immediately, and it's already been touched on, is that Crazy Nights was a hit in England. Reason to Live was a hit in England. Turn on the Night, did it go top 40? It was near the top 40 in England. So Crazy Nights hit. All of them did well there. I was out in England in both 87 and 88, and all I remember, you know, Liverpool, Penny Lane Records, freaking picture disc displays up behind the counter, and I didn't have enough money because I was buying Quiet Riot bootlegs and shit like that, and Wasp and all that stuff when I was out there. You know, and so there was just Kiss 12-inch singles. Kiss single, the first Kiss single I ever bought was Kiss's Reason to Live from England. It was the first, I think it was the first Kiss single released in that country in that format. So it was massive in England. Just inexplicable. It was on, what was it? I think one of the first performances was a video of Crazy Nights on the American version of Top of the Pops. So, again, it as an English guy, or, you know, I'll always be English even though I haven't lived there in many years, it's kind of one of those weird things that for my home country, this is the most popular Kiss album. It's almost a badge of shame in some ways, but also a badge of awesome. Finally, they did something in Britain that made the Now album at the end of the year. All the big hits get compiled onto one compilation at the end of the year, and you know, it's something to be proud of to a certain extent that in 1987 that Crazy Nights finally, you know, did something. But it had been building in England for years beforehand. I want to run through the tracks. I don't want to do a long, what are your favorites? Just get some quick thoughts on each of the tracks, since there's 5 of us, so we can kind of power through these.
Yep.
Crazy Nights. Alex, start with you. You know, just word association, instant thoughts. Alex?
Hello.
Hello.
It's frozen.
Mayday.
All right.
Come in, Alex.
Alex, we'll get back to you in a minute. Lonnie, let's go with you.
Crazy Nights. The first thing I think of is the first time I heard it live when they played it back in 2010. When they came back and did that Shed tour in the summer. And it sounded great, I thought. I thought the current version of the band did a great job with that song live. And it's the only time I've ever heard the song live, obviously. And that's what I think about, actually, the first time whenever I hear it. And it's actually become a live version of that. It's actually become my go-to version of that because it's not so saturated with keyboards like it is on the album version. It's a fun song, though. And when you are, I guess, 8 years old when I first heard it, or even when I was 12 years old when I went out and bought it, it's still a fun song, even though it's very dated with how it's produced. I wish that I've heard, you know, other stuff that sounds better than what ended up on the album, but I wish that a more raw version of that maybe would have been put on like the box set back in 2001 to really give us a taste of what some of these songs could have sounded like. And I think Crazy Nights is one of the songs that really suffered from the saturated production on this album.
Yeah, I think as all fans can hope that one day that they put the demo that we've heard so much about so that we can all finally hear it would be wonderful. Ken, Crazy Nights.
Well, yeah, I talked a little bit about it at first when we were talking about, you know, first buying it. But yeah, I thought that song was a good song, and again, I thought it was going to be a hit. I thought it was going to be a hit here, so I enjoyed it. What's funny is I did listen to the whole album on vinyl yesterday, and you know, I enjoyed it more than what I remember, and maybe it's because the CD sounds like crap, in my opinion. The vinyl sounds better. I guess it's warmer, you know. But it just sounded better to me, and I had myself kind of today. I hear songs from the album, going through my head. Certain songs off of the album. It's surprising to me. So I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because it kind of fell off for me over the years, and now I think maybe I'm a little bit too hard on that. That album. So, but Crazy Nights, again, it's just a great song.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that vinyl that I had out. Mark, Crazy Nights.
Yeah, I've really grown to like that song a lot more, obviously, than before. I think it's a good opener. I think it really sends out the mission statement of the whole album, what to expect from that moment on. Again, just like everybody else said, if there was a little less keyboards on it, it would definitely be a lot more, attractive a song for everybody, I'm sure. And the one thing I have to agree with Lonnie about is that I think that this is definitely a song that's better in a live capacity than it is on album any day of the week. I mean, it just definitely has more balls to it and shows what it could have been, in that element. So I like Crazy Nights. I think that it's a song that got the short end of the shaft as far as the recorded version of it.
Yeah, at the beginning of the show, I kind of said, that this song nearly made me not a Kiss fan back in 1987. This year, when I was in Reno, I was thrilled to hear it live. It was really, again, like Lonnie said, a high point of the set, that finally getting to hear a song that I never got to hear live in concert because of being in the wrong place at the wrong time was a fantastic experience. It has grown on me. I've been watching a lot of Crazy Nights bootlegs and listening to them, particularly Tokyo, which is up on YouTube, and is just I find it very listenable, and I'm actually enjoying the song more. Maybe it's now because when I interviewed Bruce the other day, I did ask him, did you ever think it was going to be a classic? With how it was kind of received in the United States, it was only popular in one country, but now it's considered in the Kiss canon a classic, which is somewhat weird to consider, but there you go. And my tastes towards that song have changed. Next song on the album, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. And Ken, let's go to you on that.
Well, that one, this is one of those where Paul Stanley, is just singing so darn high. And I was reading from the, Behind the Mask or whatever, the book, and he's saying that, he probably shouldn't have done so much of that high pitch singing back then. But he thought, well, it was kind of a challenge for him, so he kind of went that direction. But the song is a good song, not one of my favorites on the album. But, it falls in right with all the other stuff, like we talked about, the Bon Jovi and the Poison and stuff like that. So it's a good song. Not my favorite, though.
That's a great segue just into a brief multimedia interlude. And B5 Eric on the board did share a version of I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, tuned a half step down. Now, it's obviously not exactly what it would sound like if it had been recorded, tuned a half step down by tinkering with it, but it actually sounds pretty interesting. All right, so it comes across as more as just a powerful kind of rock song without Paul going far too stratospheric. Mark, I'll Fight Hell to Hold You.
This is a song that I actually kind of like, to be honest with you. The high singing doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you one thing that I kind of realized about this record. You have your Creatures of the Night, where you kind of listen to it and say, that's Eric Carr's kind of record where he stands out and shines a lot. Then you have other records where you think Gene stands out really strongly and stuff like that. I think that this record is a really good standout record for Paul vocally. I think it would be wise to listen to what a vocalist can do when you don't have Pro Tools, at your beck and call, and listen to what kind of vocals this guy recorded, at this time. I think that this is his vocal album. This is the one where I think that he could pat himself on the back and say what a great job he did. And I mean, I just listened recently to that interview that Carl did with him talking about his vocals, and he said the same thing. He was going for broke. He was at his vocal kind of peak at that time, and he knew it, so he was able to go for these little extra high parts, and he knew he could do it. So it was almost like he was flexing his muscles vocally. So I kind of was, I'm impressed with that. I mean, it's like when a guitar player shows off his licks and he's really good and he's at that zone where he knows that he can pretty much play anything. I think Paul was there vocally.
Yeah, good points. Lonnie.
Mm-hmm.
I like I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. I thought when I remember listening to the album and being surprised that it wasn't a single. I thought it had single quality to it. I thought, why not? I think it's a catchy tune and it's kind of fun. And Paul is really singing his ass off on the song. So I like the song, and I'm surprised it's not. But I kind of echo what you guys are saying. Yeah, it's Paul really, like Mark said, flexing his muscles vocally on the track, and I like it. I have really no issues with it.
All right, so I'm going to go there because obviously I did this at the Nashville Kiss convention. I did play Rod Gonzalez, the disco version.
Go.
That went on way too long, by the way.
I did play the 9-minute extended version as well. So
my wife eventually started singing along, and she looks at me and says, "Why do I know this song? God, I hate you." She goes.
All right, so 1999, D Arts' Rod Gonzalez covered this song. I actually had that tribute album, Kiss in Deutschland, back then. I never noticed it. So that shows how much attention I actually pay to the tribute albums when I play them. But someone recently posted the video on the board, and I checked it out, and it absolutely grabbed me. All of a sudden, I'm like, I like this. This is a good song. And then I realized, wait, you like this way? Doesn't that mean that Kiss's version is a good song? Because a good song is a good song is a good song. And when someone reinterprets it in a completely different style or genre, if it carries across successfully to your taste, then I went back and listened to the original, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I think it's a very well-crafted song. I didn't give it a fair shake. I will tell you, when I was interviewing Adam Mitchell for The Danger Zone, I sent him the link to that, and he just was weird, wacky, in a sick kind of way. It works, and Bruce has heard it as well. So, fun song. Let's move on. Alex, thank you for rebooting. It doesn't seem to be working, so we will catch up with you. Bang, bang, you. Yes.
Yes.
Mark.
Well, this is a song that no matter if they play it live or if it's on record, I really can't stand this song. It, to me, just represents everything that was wrong with this kind of style of music at that time. Just terrible, just cliche, up and down, top to bottom. I never liked it, and liked it even less live when I saw clips of it with the whole bang, 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 bang. It's like, please, come on. It was just terrible. So, I mean, I don't even think, any kind of remixing would help this song at all. I mean, I just don't think it's a very strong song. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, rewrite, re-record, remix, remaster, re-everything. Erase. Yes. Erase. There's RE in erase. So. Okay, Lonnie.
To echo what Julian said about the last song, a bad song is a bad song is a bad song. And you can't polish a turd. And it just is all the way around. It's a little embarrassing, to try to very noticeably squeeze Love Gun into the lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying too hard. It's like a guy who's trying to joke around. You know, who's trying too hard. You're trying too hard to fit in cliches, and you know, it really should be like a Gene song. It's so full of cliches, and that's the way Gene really writes. It's actually surprising that a song that's so full of nonsense is actually a Paul Stanley song. Usually, it's the other way around. So, to echo what you said, no, I don't have anything good to say about it because it's just poor, and it shouldn't be on. It shouldn't be on this Kiss album or any Kiss album because it's a crappy song.
Yep, right down there with Read My Body. Since you've deemed to join us, Alex, we're going through the songs, just quick fire. Your thoughts on them. We're on Bang Bang You. What do you think?
Terrible song.
The hot take.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next episode.
You know, I will say, one of the live versions from like the Spectrum that was on Kissology, I think that made it slightly enjoyable just because it was something different to see live.
Mark says no.
Mark disagrees with you. Mark, so why don't you read us the riot act on Bang Bang You?
Well, I just told you what I thought of it. I thought it was complete crap, and like I said, that live version of it is just horrendous. I was just saying before you came back on, Alex, that whole bang 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 thing he does at the end, I wanted to throw something on my television. It's gone. You can't
like
honestly
boom,
think
boom,
that's
boom.
much better. You know.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ken?
All right. This song is okay. Lonnie took the words out of my mouth because I was ready to say it. That come on, Gene is not the only one that writes cheesy songs. Paul does it too sometimes, and here's a one of his. So it's a stretch. He's trying to go for too much. Trying too hard. And failing basically, so it's okay. It's not very good. It could be my least favorite. One of my least favorite on the album.
Yep, and I'll echo the negativity across the board. Even 15-year-old me did a double take when it came up. I'll shoot you down with my love gun, baby. I was just like, what the fuck is up with that? I mean, that is just too damn desperate. Did not like it then. I'm not a big fan of it now. I find it a little bit more tolerable 30 years on. Maybe I'm a little numbed to it, whereas, it pops up a lot in concerts that I listen to, so Read My Body doesn't. So you only have that one studio track to go back to and continue to hate in that case. No. Again, I did not like that back in the day either. It's only since listening to and watching all these bootlegs where you see the kind of the drum solo and then the jam and then the Bruce doing an extended version of the intro into the song and letting him fly, that I really appreciated more musically now of Kiss trying to be kind of that speed metal band in their own Kiss style. Whether or not it's that successful, I think musically it's a very enjoyable song to watch being performed, particularly Eric and Bruce, rather than anything to do with Gene singing and lyrically going on. Mark, I'll go straight back to you on there for your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, once again, this is one of these things where I heard it on the album and was kind of, a little surprised to hear a little bit of a guitar solo thing there at the top. But when I saw the live footage of it, that's where it kind of grew in stature for me because, being a guitar player, you can't help but be kind of, impressed by those kind of things. I mean, I really think Bruce Kulick is a fantastic guitar player. He's always been my favorite member of Kiss. So I've always, had a soft spot for that song because of that. I thought that he was a really strong performer in that song. And like you said, the weakest part of that song, I think, is Gene singing. And, if that would have been more an instrumental, even, it would have probably been more enjoyable than anything to do with Gene singing in it. I think the main strength of that song is the guitar playing and Eric's drumming on that. So that's how I kind of view it.
Yeah, and that's what Bruce told me in the interview. Again, Eric's double bass and Eddie Van Halen, style guitar, just comes together in Kiss. Ken.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought it was kind of cool. And then I didn't care for it for a while, and then I heard it yesterday, and I thought, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Though I think they should have put this song I would have put it at the end of the album. Made it the last song. Not because it's bad, because I think it's because it's different. It kind of sticks out to me like a sore thumb on the album. Doesn't really match anything else on the album. Though, I do love, Bruce's guitar playing is just fantastic, and Eric Carr and all. Like Mark said, he was saying he doesn't like Gene singing. Well, I think they probably should have just put it on the end and made it an instrumental instead, and that would have been probably a great little, ripping tune at the end to go out on. So that's what I would have done. But it's still, I'm okay with it. It's pretty good.
And stunningly, it was the B-side to the Crazy Night single. So, Alex, no.
There you go.
Is it a yes, a maybe, or a no?
It's a pause.
It's a Frozen.
Yes.
No.
Oh, there you go.
No.
There he is. No.
The intro is cool, and I was actually just watching the Budokan show before we did this podcast, and Bruce's stuff was great at the beginning, but after the little intro, it's just no, not doing it for me.
No.
I think like maybe at the end of the album, kind of reminds me of like Boomerang at the end of Hot in the Shade, just kind of like out there left field.
Yeah. Or as Anthrax would have said in 1987, not, right? Lonnie.
I agree with what Ken and Mark were saying, that it really showcases the talents of Bruce and Eric in the band at the time. And Gene's lyrics kind of ruined the song for me, actually. So I hadn't thought about the song being an instrumental, but that's a unique idea. It shows off how talented Bruce and Eric were, and how lucky Gene and Paul were to have them carry them through the 80s, especially with what they brought in that time frame, with how Eddie Van Halen guitarist type playing was very popular, and Bruce could really showcase his talents if put on the spot. But the song itself, I could really take it or leave it, but I do appreciate the talents of Eric and Bruce being shown off, and not being just a Gene and Paul show, per se.
Yeah, that's a really good point about instrumental, and if they did do a deluxe edition, I would love an instrumental version of it now that you guys have suggested it, just because it'd be great to hear the full flight of kind of power Kiss. Alex, we'll go back to you before you freeze out on us for Hell or High Water, which is, of course, Gene Simmons and I think Bruce co-write. Yeah, so Gene and Bruce get together on that. What do you think of that song?
Go ahead, Alex.
Obviously not much.
Oh, me?
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, Alex.
I thought it was Lonnie.
Yes, you were waiting.
Okay. I think it's like the stepchild of Good Girl Gone Bad. I felt like it was kind of like a leftover piece, but it's better than No. I'll leave it at that.
Well, quick and concise. Ken, Hell or High Water?
I like the song. It's a pretty, it's a good song, good catchy song. Nothing bad about it, except, like I said, the vocals for Gene on this album are, they're all toned down, and I'd rather have him in his, demon voice, I guess you could call it. I know when I was also looking back at the book, Gene gave it 2 stars. This album, he gives it 2 stars. He doesn't like it because he said it's too poppy. And I think Ron Nevison also said that Gene was worried about it not being enough crunch in the guitars and so on the album. So yeah, I like the song. I think it's a well written song. It's a good song. It's catchy. I like it. It's not my favorite song on the album, but I like it. Okay.
So I was told in one of my interviews for the Danger Zone feature that I'm doing that Gene was cowering in the corner while this album was being mixed, and very unhappy by the sound.
By the vocals.
I'm making it very clear. But Hell or High Water is one of my favorite Gene vocals from the Unmasked era, of where he was actually singing in a voice that was not Cookie Monster, it was not angry, unholy. Ask it was, almost that you're getting a 78 kind of Gene vocal phrasing singing, which what I think is a pretty darn good song. So if I'm going to pick a good Gene song from the 1980s, this will always be in my list, and from the Unmasked era, of course. Mark, Hell or High Water.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I don't really mind this song, to be quite honest, and I think that, as I mentioned before, this album kind of has a soft spot for me for certain reasons, and I think that Gene sings pretty good on this. I don't mind his voice on this record, and I don't actually mind many of the songs that he's done on this record, and for the exception of No No No, I think that the other songs that he's done on here are pretty decent, actually. It's surprising, considering how checked out everybody said he was at this point, and I'm not that I don't believe that, it's just that considering how checked out he was, he at least came back with some decent vocals performance-wise on this album. So I think he did a good job. I mean, his vocals fit the mood of the record, and I think that's kind of important, especially if you're going to look at it from a producer standpoint, is that you want to make sure that the songs gel at least that way, that there's moods that are kind of blending in with each other and that are, supporting each other as the record goes through. And I think that he did a good job with his songs that way. So I don't mind that song at all.
I don't know if I don't mind that song at all is a very high vote of confidence in it, but I think when it comes to describing a lot of Gene songs in the 1980s, that's probably as good as it's going to get. So
yeah,
it's not a raving review.
So Lonnie,
I don't mind it.
Lonnie,
well, you know what I mean.
Lonnie, do you not
5
mind
out
it?
of 7.
Can you tolerate it? What do you think of it?
I can tolerate it. It's okay. I don't hate it. It's actually kind of catchy. I kind of enjoy it. It's a song that you can hear. That I don't go back and listen to Crazy Nights all the time, to be completely honest. But when you do listen to Crazy Nights, or you listen to Hell or High Water, it's a song that maybe sticks with you, and you catch yourself singing it a couple hours later, because it is fun, and it fits. You got to put yourself into a time capsule in the 1987 with these songs, and it was popular with what was coming out. If you listen to what other quote unquote, if you want to call it hard rock, if you even want to call it hard rock, but what rock bands were doing at the time, it fits into that genre, and catchy Bon Jovi-esque songs were the rage, and this fits right in, and Gene did a good job of fitting into that mold. Whether you said he was cowering in the corner because he hated it, but it's a Gene Simmons. It's a really like a perfect Gene Simmons 80s-esque song, because it's not hateful in that, it's more poppy and more "I'm gonna love you" type of stuff, and it's fun. It's a fun song. It's one of actually my more enjoyable songs on the album.
No, great. My Way, and I'll hop in first on this one. When it comes to Paul's stratospheric vocals on this album, this is the one where I really find that they work. And I love the anthemic nature of this song. It's so positive and like affirming. It's like a King of the Mountain, only much, much, much higher. A great song again, and it's one of the few songs where all the instrumentation works for me. The synthesizers are very kind of prominent on it, but you still have enough guitar, you still have enough bass. I think this might be one that has some sampling going on with the drums as well. But all around, it's better than Bang Bang You. Certainly. So, Mark, My Way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think this is another song that shows Paul's vocal prowess on here. It's definitely strong vocally. It's very interesting how it was a Desmond Child write and that Bruce Turgon guy, who I read that interview that you just did with him there, And it was interesting that he was working with who was it again from Foreigner there, the guy at that time. So it's interesting maybe where his headspace was at when he was
Lou Gramm.
Lou Gramm, yeah. That he was working, maybe that's where his head was at too when they were working on it. Maybe little elements of that commerciality crept in to it. But I think it's a good song. I mean, it's definitely not anything like Bang Bang You. This song is miles better than it, and I think it's catchy enough. I think it's definitely suits the time. Again, the keyboards, would I have turned them down? Of course, I think they would have turned down. But like we said before, we have to kind of put our heads in the space of what was going on at that time. Sure, the keyboards were a hot commodity back then. Every band back then had a keyboard player, if you really think about it. So, other than that, I think it's a decent song. It's not my favorite Paul song on the record, but it's one of the better ones.
Ken.
Yeah, this is the song that was stuck in my head today after listening to it yesterday. I just kept hearing it over and over, Paul singing My Way, and but it's good, and I also hear what the synthesizers or keyboards, whatever you want to call, in there, like you said, Julian, that they're kind of they're up there pretty forefront. The synthesizer, it reminds me of the synthesizers on like on Rush Signals, I think. Just it has that same sound to me, at least for this the song. But I think it's a well done and well sung song, even though it's up there high. They just reaching for it. It's one of the better Paul songs on the album.
Alex, I'm not going to let Mark take us off on a Rush tangent. So Alex,
hear you.
I the Paul song I've always enjoyed, and you can go to YouTube, the vocal isolation track, whether it's like a demo or whatnot, where you just hear Paul doing the vocals. I think it really showcases his ability, though I'm sure probably now he might be regretting a little bit of doing some of that at the time, but I think it really showed a lot of his talent and what he could do.
Great, nice and concise.
And it's a fun song.
Lonnie.
I like My Way. It might be my favorite Paul song on the album. It's a good motivational song, get you fired up type song for at the gym or running or something like that. Exactly, it's like Rocky-esque, kind of like King of the Mountain. It's definitely on like my running or like workout playlist, because it is something that'll fire you up, and it speaks to you. So I enjoy it. I can't say. I mean, there's no other. Maybe Crazy Nights is on there too, as far as like a workout song. It's kind of a pump you up type thing too. But as other than that, those are the only two songs that are really like that type of song to me. But I enjoy songs like that get you fired up, and My Way is definitely one of them. And it's Paul definitely showing off his, again, in the era type Crazy Night, this super high, super strained vocals. But it's good. I enjoy it thoroughly.
All right, when
you own the Rocky soundtrack, don't you?
Correct. You got to here. Let me tell you.
Oh
something.
yeah.
You got to when you're running a marathon, you format your playlist so that you finish to the Rocky song.
There you go.
Eye of
Top of the steps.
Which one is that? Is that Eye of the Tiger or?
No, Eye of the Tiger I usually put in the middle, but the theme from Rocky, like when he's running up the steps, exactly. Yes.
Getting stronger or whatever.
There you go.
Okay, usually when I'm running I hear sirens, so let's move on to When Your Walls Come Down, which I think is a great line, a great concept in search of a good song, and it doesn't find it here. And I know this is written by Bruce, Adam Mitchell, and Paul Stanley, but this for me is Paul's weakest song on the album by far. It's got a lot of like elements in terms of its music, some of the lyrics that just seem like they didn't quite stick to the wall when thrown, and it's just something that maybe to me doesn't feel fully realized. But it's like a best case effort for what they were trying to do. Alex, When Your Walls Come Down.
Hey diddle diddle when the cat wants to fiddle. I like it. It's one of my favorite ones. This one and I'll Fight Hell the Whole Year are probably like my two that I like off the album. I always liked Bruce's little guitar part and the chorus part of the song. And I know there's like a not so great live version of this song that exists as you could find and stuff, but I definitely always thought this was like just a fun one. And I kind of wish that the music style, definitely I can agree with the lyrics a little bit cheesy, but I thought like the music direction that they had going was a good direction, and I wish some of the other tracks on the album had been more in that vein.
Excellent. Ken?
Yeah, this song, like you said, is not one of Paul's best songs. It may be a tie, this one and Bang Bang You, for maybe the weakest songs on the album. This is one that I will not hear the next day in my head. That's
I just hope you don't.
It's not. Yeah. That would be bad. But it's. Oh, here, I'm hearing it now. Wait a minute. It's just. It sounds generic, like any other band would be doing that at that time period. Nothing original really about it. It's just. Yeah, I don't want to even listen to it again. So.
Yep. Yeah, if I want to listen to Dross like that, I'll put on Poisons, got the cat dragged in. But at least, yeah. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta echo pretty much everything you guys said. I mean, it's probably his weakest song on the record, and even with as good as how he sings on this record, stand out to me. It's very, very generic. It's very much like they actually thought about making a Poison-ish kind of song, something that is along those tracks, and it could have been left off easily off this record. I think they could have did well of not even have put it on and replaced it with something better like Sword and Stone or something instead.
Great point.
Imagine that. So, Lonnie, let's get your thoughts on when your walls come down.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and then we'll take a quick segue into Sword and Stone.
That's a great point, Mark, and I'm glad you brought that up, because how a song like this makes the cut, and a song like Sword and Stone, and Hide Your Heart for that matter, don't make the cut on this record, is really mind-boggling. Because I put this song right in the same category that Bang Bang You. I'm not really bringing anything new to the conversation other than, I'm agreeing with everything you guys are saying, that when your walls come down, it's just like Bang Bang You. It seems very carbon copied of what every other band was doing at the time. There's nothing special about it. But, Hide Your Heart and Sword and Stone are good songs, and this makes the cut. It really makes you scratch your head to what they were thinking, what Paul and what Ron Nevison were thinking at the time. That really the song selection is just baffling.
Yeah, and one thing that I get out of the interviews and doing some of the research for Danger Zone is, January 1987 in Billboard magazine, there's a news blurb that Sword and Stone has been given to Loverboy, which of course they never record it. They do an album that year, but they don't do it. And Paul Dean does eventually release his version on hardcore in, I think, 1989, maybe 88, 89. So I can understand it being kind of promised to another act and then not doing it, just as it in Hide Your Heart was picked up by, just about every band in Hollywood. Yeah.
Molly Hatchet. Ace.
Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
And someone else. Robin Beck, was it? Or am I misremembering? But whatever. So back then when he was doing his publishing tapes, I can understand how it might have been reserved. And then Ron might have said, well, if it's reserved for someone else, do we really want to do it? And at that time, you can see it being left off. I mean, Bruce would probably take issue with that and say, well, if Ron didn't like it, that's just a good, valid excuse, which, you can kind of see it from that point. But Sword and Stone, just like It's My Life, is the missed quintessential 1980s Kiss anthem that we never got. And we can't be revisionist and never say what it might have been. So... who's next on When Your Walls Come Down? Or are we done with that? No, that's it. All right. So
Reason to Live.
Reason to Live, which I adore to this day. I thought Paul Stanley's ballads got stronger and stronger through the 80s, and he just hit it out of the park every time he sat down to write a power ballad. And this one with Desmond Child, number 33 in the UK, so a strong top 40 single there, 64 in the US. A flop. Great video. And of course, he, as you can read in Face the Music, he got to drive away with a Porsche because Gene was trying to make him happy. So, Lonnie, let's go to you on that.
It's pretty much a standard in the 80s. You had to have a strong power ballad. All the bands were doing it, whether you're Motley Crue, whether you're Poison,
Cinderella.
Cinderella. Everybody had to have the power ballad, and that became the formula when you released an album. Even that you had to have your main lead single, and then your second single was your power ballad, and then your third single was back to a rock track. So Kiss, again, with Crazy Nights, was really following the formula of what was popular. And unfortunately, Reason to Live didn't have the takeoff power that I think it should have. I think it's a good song. It's really a great song. But, I think, too, part of it was Kiss in 87, and there are other up-and-coming bands. And Kiss, even though they're still performing in 30 years later, I think a lot of people who maybe weren't around in the 70s, especially, younger people, thought, oh, Kiss, well, they're old. As crazy as that sounds now. But I think that was, a lot of people's attitude. Well, Kiss, how long have they been around already at this point? Listen to some of these new bands. And I think that might have been a reason why a Reason to Live didn't shoot up the charts. As when you listen to it now, it sounds a whole lot better than what was shooting up the charts for power ballads at the time. So,
yep.
It's just too bad. It's just a shame.
Here I Go Again jumps out as being very similar, and obviously Foreigner. There's always been the comparison. Alex, Reason to Live.
I like it. One of my favorite songs off the album. It was on that bootleg tape that it had, and I even loved the live version that they did on the 80s and stuff. I thought it was fun. Of course, you see some of the videos, you see Bruce on the keyboards and whatnot, but I think, they caught on to something. I mean, obviously you had to co-write with Paul Stanley, Desmond Child, so I think it was a good power ballad. I wish it would have done a little bit more in the U.S., but...
Ken?
Yeah, this is a great song. I thought it should have been a huge hit, but this is Kiss doing Heart, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds just like one of Heart's songs, which again, also produced by Nevison. But I mean, it sounds so close to it. Maybe that's why it didn't, because it was just too similar. I don't know, but I thought it was just a well-written song and a great song. And I'm surprised it wasn't a hit here. So that doesn't make sense to me, but it's one of my favorite songs on the album.
Mark?
I agree with pretty much everything. I think that this is one of the songs where the production got it right as far as how it sounds. It definitely suited radio for the time, how it sounded. And I'm convinced, after reading several books about payola and stuff like that at the time, I'm pretty sure that the other bands that were topping the charts with their less good ballads at the time were and I just think that songs that were not as good got in better spots because of that, and they should have been in a better position, and they just simply weren't. It's a great ballad. I think it should have did a lot better, but again, I think there was a little bit of that whole perspective, like Ken said too, where people looked at them and said, Kiss, really? They're still around? And people were more interested in hearing what the latest Poison or Cinderella ballad was than Kiss at that time. I can guarantee you that. So, but bands like Whitesnake also lucked out as well. But don't forget, they had a lot of that helping them out as well, because that record didn't start off so fantastic either. But then all of a sudden, boom, 12 million sales later. Don't think there wasn't a little bit of a push monetarily going on for that record to break. So maybe Kiss management should have thought about that too. So
Yeah, I'm sure Tawny Katane in the videos had nothing to do with Whitesnake's success.
Of course, too. But I'm talking about radio.
So why don't you take us straight into Good Girl Gone Bad, because I only have one sentence to say about that song. A great line in search of a good song, and this is not a good song. It's garbage. Doesn't work for me on any level. Mark?
Yeah, it's my least favorite. Well, not least favorite. No is my least favorite, but this is pretty close to being my also least favorite song that Gene does on the album. Again, I don't think it has anything to do with his singing. I think that he sings decently well, but it's just not a good song, like lyrically and musically. It's a bit weak. But again, I think that overall, the singing done by both Paul and Gene on this record is pretty good. I was very, very impressed with that in retrospect.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard this, I thought it was pretty good. Now, I don't like it as much as I used to, I guess. It's good. Like Mark said, though, it's probably my least favorite Gene song on the album of his songs. But it's okay. I'm not, think it's great, and I don't think it's horrible. It's just kind of in the middle.
Alex?
I like it. My favorite Gene song off the album. The best one. The only one that survived the album, in my opinion.
Hey, great. Good. Lonnie?
Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. It's I think Julian hits it on the head where he said, I think Gene likes to come up with a good idea or a good title for a song, like Christine 16, for example, but it worked. Good Girl Gone Bad is the same type of thing. Gene came up with a cool title for a song, but failed to deliver when it came to the song itself.
Lonnie, the Christine 16 was Paul Stanley's idea.
Okay, well, Gene was good at stealing ideas.
That's definitely true. but you know what I mean. Gene's done that, and that's just the one that came up off the top of my head. But Gene's done that before, though. He comes up with a cool idea for a song, or a cool name for a song, and I think he got it stuck in his head that I'm going to write a song called "Good Girl Gone Bad," and he ended up not writing a good song. So that's kind of my opinion on it. And Gene probably, sandwiched his way to make sure it got on the album just because he thought it was a cool title for a song and he wanted it on there. And probably the other stuff Gene was submitting was garbage at the time. That's a ringing endorsement for the Vault box set.
In terms of its titling, I mean, it's very similar to, say, Any Way You Slice It or Secretly Cruel and Good Girl Gone Bad. They're all kind of, similar. Log in your fireplace and et cetera, et cetera. Let's go to Turn on the Night. And in retrospect, I believe if they had let off the album with Turn on the Night, and that was the first song you heard, I would, in particular, have had a more positive reaction to the rest of the album. Because to me, Turn on the Night is just pure pop perfection. It's a fantastic song, great tempo, great lyrics. Well, there are some parts that are pretty lame looking back, 30 years later, but love the song. Love it to this day. Love the video. Love everything about it. Lonnie, straight back to you.
Very catchy. Great song. It's another type of song. It goes back to that era. Another type of song that when you listen to it, you'll catch yourself singing it the next day. It's fun. It's catchy. It's very 80s-esque. And Kiss did a great job of capturing that vibe and that feeling on the song. And I wish we would have heard more of it.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot after. So,
Alex.
It's a shame.
I like it a lot. I agree. I wish it should have been in the set list. I think it was a great version of when Bruce did like a show, and he found on YouTube where he did like Crazy Nights, and they go and they turn on the night. And I think missed opportunity for if Kiss had done it live. Like that would have been a great 1-2 punch for the Crazy Nights tour. Crazy Nights and this song. So good song, music video. Kind of funny with some of the animations, but it was the 80s, so.
There you go. Ken.
Yeah, I agree with you, Julian, that, I was going to say, this should have been the lead-off single, in my opinion. and like you said, starting the album would have been perfectly fine. They could have started side 2 of the vinyl, for instance, with Crazy Nights. Done it that way. 2 great lead offs for each side. But this is a great song. I thought, again, like I said, I thought this should have been the lead single over Crazy Nights, and it may have you've been a hit here, actually become a hit. I know it's already a hit in England, but I think it would have made it.
It was nearly a hit in England. 41.
Great song. I think it's the best song on the album, in my opinion.
Mark.
Yeah, well, this is it. This is my favorite song off the record. The song, my go-to song. This is the song that whenever I think of this record, it's this song. It should have opened the record. It should have been the first single. I agree with Alex. The video is funny, but it's also good to keep in mind the time again. Some of the special effects are a little, on the hilarious side, but still, I think overall, I think the song is well written, and I just enjoy it. It's a great song, and I think Paul sings it just fantastically well. I don't know what else to say other than that.
Yeah, and I think logically, don't you have to turn on the night before you can have a crazy, crazy night?
Yes.
So, there you go. Final song, and let's start with you, Lonnie. Thief in the Night.
It's fine. It's kind of ending the album. I think you're on a high with Turn on the Night, and then you kind of end with a clunker. In my opinion, you guys said that Turn on the Night should have been maybe the first song on the record. It would have worked a whole lot better if you just swapped Thief in the Night and Turn on the Night to end the record. I think you would have ended the record on a high note, as opposed to ended the album just on a clunker and just kind of like a whiff and just a swing and a miss at the end. So it's kind of a disappointing way for him to end the album when, Kiss had been notorious for ending albums with great songs. It's a disappointment to me, and it just kind of I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. It just kind of leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth at the end of the album.
Yep, Alex.
With the modern technological advances with iTunes and so forth, I always.
And you're a millennial. You're a millennial. Listen to the album.
Okay, Gene. But it's not a terrible song, but I do kind of always have agreed with the with ending on a high note. And for me, it just, like you said, it seems like a clunker. It almost seems like it would be like a Japanese bonus track or an outtake, a song at the end. You're kind of like, where did this come from? But not as bad as No. So I'll give you that one, Gene.
Yeah, at least if he's going to recycle or redo a song, he might as well redo one of his own. Mark.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a terrible song, but it's definitely not a song you want to put after Turn on the Night. I mean, that was the big mistake. I definitely think that they should have been flip-flopped, and that would have definitely ended the record on a really, really good note, and would have probably made you want to go flip the side back again and restart it and start listening again. But I think that
makes you want to turn on something else.
Just makes you want to throw it out the window.
Right.
Yeah. It's not the strongest song Gene's done, but again, overall, I think I got to give props to Gene though that vocally he did a pretty good job on this record.
Yeah, I would have put My Way on as the last song, just kind of like an anthemic declaration at the end. And anyway, Paul did this album his way, and there you go. So let's talk about some of the live songs quickly, because I know.
Hey, I didn't do that song.
You didn't? Oh yeah, because you turned away from us, and
I was turning away from you.
Yeah. Thief in the Night, Ken.
Quickly, yeah. Thief in the Night. I think it's okay. It's not a bad song. I do like the Wendy O. Williams version much better than the Gene Simmons version. So maybe because it's heavier, But again, I wouldn't have put it last. Again, I would have put No 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 last, and possibly as an instrumental. So.
All right, so 6 songs from this album were performed live during the tour. I don't know if you've heard them all. Obviously, Crazy Crazy Nights, Bang Bang You, No No No, Hell or High Water, Reason to Live, and is that 6?
When Your Walls Come Down.
And When Your Walls Come Down. Thank you. Favorites off those? Pick 2. Alex?
When Your Walls Come Down, and I'll go with Crazy Nights live. I feel like the live version is better.
Yep. Lonnie, 2 of those for your favorites?
Oh, gosh. Crazy Crazy Nights and Hell or High Water.
Okay, I get to say ditto, even though Hell or High Water was just like a dead zone in concert.
I know, but I still like the song.
I still like the song, and I like the performance. It was a shame it couldn't get a little bit more reaction out of the crowd. Mark?
Well, for me, it's going to be Crazy Nights and No No No. I just love that live version of No No No.
Ken, I won't forget you this time.
Your mic is off.
Hello.
So you didn't forget me, and I turned my mic off. Figures. Anyway, I'm going to agree with Mark on that.
Nice. Okay, videos. Videos were obviously shot for Crazy Crazy Nights, Reason to Live, and Turn on the Night. Out of all of those, I always loved seeing that first Crazy Nights video because that stage was just so damn impressive. Even though I wasn't a big fan of the song, I thought it was fantastic. But once Turn on the Night came out and it had the great song with the great audience with the performance video, that was my favorite. So my favorite's Turn on the Night. Alex?
Reason to Live.
Because it has fire or Porsche?
Both.
Porsche. Okay. Ken?
Reason to Live. Yeah.
Mark?
I like seeing Bruce play the keyboards.
You did? Yeah.
I gotta go on with Turn on the Night. It's favorite song, and the video is still really catchy.
Lonnie?
I'm gonna go with Crazy Nights just because I like I like, to echo what Julian said, I like the big stage, and I like seeing the band just live in action. I'm going with that.
All right, so the last question I had for everyone, and there's a lot of bootlegs that circulate from the, I know I sent you one recently, Ken, I think, from this tour. Do you got, any of you have a go-to bootleg that you always go to? I've already told you, and at work or even in the car, I've got a copy of Tokyo, the Budokan video. I can just listen to, I can play that over and over. And the other night, I can't remember which night it is, I think it's the 22nd, also have just fantastic. The performance is great, even though Gary Corbett was not on that tour to play keyboards. It's my go-to for the tour, as is Tilburg on the Monsters of Rock, where you can watch that one and you actually get to see Gary on stage and really hear where the keyboards are kind of layering Paul's rhythm guitar. So those are my 2 go-tos. Mark, do you have a favorite bootleg or way to listen?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was watching quite a few of them the other night, and I was actually watching that Newcastle one, which I thought was kind of interesting. But my favorite one that I always love watching, and a lot of people are kind of surprised when I say this, is I love watching that Monsters of Rock performance they did when they were out on that open stage or during the day performing. I love that, and you could tell they were like a middle band then, because you even see Gene running there and pulling the monitors back, readjusting them on stage because they were all over the place, and it's just something about the vibe of that whole show I really loved on that too. And they had that back angle of Eric Carr when he was playing, Tears Are Falling and stuff like that, and I really loved that show. I thought that it showed them kind of wanting to be back on top again, I thought.
Yep. So that I believe is Tilburg, the one that circulates, so you can see that on YouTube. Ken?
Yeah, I go to the Japan one. Always seem to go to that one because I don't know. I mean, again, I saw them live. in San Francisco, and it was the worst Kiss show I've had ever seen. But the Japan was a lot better, which is fortunate. But the actual, it was just lackluster. I think Japan, they play a longer set too, I believe.
They did.
So,
with more classics in it as well. Strutter was back.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the problem with that show that I saw in San Francisco. But yeah, Japan is the one.
Yep. Lonnie?
I'm going to echo what Ken said. I was going to say Japan also. It's good quality. It's a good, watch or listen. And there is the classics mixed in, and it just gives you a better feel than some of the other shows with a lot of the newer tracks in it.
Yeah, so one of my opinions is, if they were to ever do a deluxe edition, the full uncut Budokan would need to be in there. I would take that over Philly, the Spectrum show, though, maybe if they did a 2014 disc, with the original remaster, or the latest remaster, a 2017 Ron Everson remix for disc 2, disc 3, all the demos.
If we're not doing deluxe editions of Rock and Roll Over, I don't think we have to worry about a deluxe edition of Crazy Nights anytime soon.
Man, you just stick a fork in my eye.
I am really just a delight, but just being honest.
Yeah, well, I would want that on there, uncut, because it's got great camera work, and obviously several of us have mentioned that being one of our standout videos. All right, before we wrap this up, I do want to just pimp out the Danger Zone website. Did go live today with the first interview. This is KissDangerZone.com. It's the 30th anniversary of Kiss's Crazy Nights album. Right now, interviews that are in the can, I may get one or two more done. They're our requests out to a lot of people, have been for the last few months, and maybe they happen, maybe it's something I have to go back after the fact, like we did with Odyssey and the Gene Ace, Peter and Paul book. But Bruce Turgon went live today, and over the next few days I'll be sharing new interviews with Chris Lent, Phil Ashley, Diane Warren, Adam Mitchell, Gary Corbett. We'll be revisiting the interview of Ron Nevison, and of course Bruce Kulick. So that is who I've got so far that is done. And, there's still a couple out there that may happen. They may wait for a different forum. That's just how it goes. There's a lot of people who were invited. Some I invited and later found out that they'd passed away. But the internet's forever, so you don't necessarily know that when you find an email address. So come on over to KissDangerZone.com. I'm putting up a lot of multimedia to support these. The video today was the time-adjusted My Way demo, and of course some other stuff will go up that will complement each of these. So that's our I guess our show on Crazy Nights. I think give it another spin, reevaluate it as it turns 30. Give it a chance. It's one that has sat for a lot of fans kind of in the nether regions of their storage units that they just don't go to very often. If Crazy Nights can be performed in makeup by the current lineup and feel like a Kiss classic to some of us, you're fine to disagree with us, but go give the whole album a spin and see where it sits for you in 2017. It was a grand idea to try and go a little bit more accessible, pop friendly, a wider audience, but like The Elder, like the solo albums and some of the other experiments in their career, it didn't quite live up to expectations. So from Alex, from Lonnie, from Mark, Ken, and myself, we thank you for listening. Let us know what you think on any of the places that you listen to this. Let us know your favorite songs, your least, your favorite bootlegs, and whatnot, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.